NewsNation's Hannah Brandt is live in D.C. So, Hannah, what are we hearing from the former vice president?
Well, Nichole, we're gaining a lot of insight into her thinking during this historically short campaign, 107 days. That's the name of the book, and also the length of time that she had to run for office after her boss, then President Biden, dropped out of the race. And she also talks about that decision from President Biden to drop out of the race and whether she should have weighed in earlier about whether he should have run for a second term at all. She talks about how she handled the concerns surrounding President Biden, his age, and whether he was fit for that position again. And in that book, Harris writes that everyone in the White House really just left the choice for President Biden to run again up to him and the First Lady Jill Biden. But Harris suggests that she actually should have weighed in, writing that it was recklessness not to do so. And now in several interviews for this book tour that she's on, Harris is really talking about those key moments and expressing some regrets about not sharing her concerns with her boss, then President Biden, and also just about how she ran the campaign in general. She talks today in The View about a key moment on the campaign trail when she did an interview on The View, and she was asked, what would you do differently from President Biden, or is there anything you would have handled differently? And she said, not a thing comes to mind. Now, that was a moment of that interview that was played over and over again in the weeks following it by the Trump campaign, saying, look, voting for Harris would be just a continuation of the same. She talks about exactly why she decided to say that on The View this morning. Take a listen to what she said.
I'm a loyal person. And I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden. I thought it was obvious. And I didn't want to offer a difference in a way that would be received or suggested to be a criticism.
So clearly a lot of reflection from the former vice president and a lot of criticism, or, some harsher criticism for her former boss than she ever shared out on the campaign trail. But even now, Harris really stopped short of definitively saying that President Biden made a mistake by deciding to run again. In the book and in these interviews, Harris does continue to defend Biden's health, arguing that he was capable of being president for another 4 years, saying that she really didn't question his capabilities, but just that campaigning is hard. But the Republican National Committee has slammed Harris's comments and arguments in a post of their own. They write, Kamala Harris claims she had a certain responsibility to tell Biden not to run, but engaged in, quote, recklessness because she didn't want to be seen as self-serving. Harris lied to the American people that Biden was infirm, and she was in on the cover-up. Now, in the midst of this book tour, there's a lot of questions about what comes next for the former vice president and whether she plans to run again in 2028. She has been asked about that multiple times. Her answer is always the same, Nichole. She says, that is not my focus right now, but certainly something we're paying close attention to.
All right, yes, certainly words there of a politician. All right, Hannah Brandt, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.